If you're like me, you may have noticed a kind of unusual thing going on. You probably, when you notice stressful people, you may kind of secretly want to avoid them, or you may actively want to avoid them. I know I do. And at the same time, you may find that when you're either forced or decide to be around stressful people or to work with stressful people or to care for them in any way, that you're actually really good at it. So it's a funny dichotomy where part of me is wanting to run away and part of me is actually quite good and capable of handling stressful people. This, when we look at the brain research for highly sensitive people, you can see that there's a greater activation in empathy-related areas of the brain when you are around others. And so when you see someone who's stressed, you will naturally be empathetic as an HSP. We notice stress in other people. We pick up on it and we tend to care about it. So the problem comes when we get overwhelmed by their stress. This means that when someone else is stuck, we can end up getting stuck too. We can become dependent on them or us to fix them in order for us to feel better. And this is where imbalance starts to come in. It's one thing to be aware of someone's stress and to be able to support them to become more balanced. But it's another thing if our emotional state is dependent too much on their emotional state. That's like a dependence. The analogy I like to think of is as highly sensitive people, we are like a seismograph meter, one of those little things that just like gives the reading of whether there's an earthquake, and it can feel very sensitive, just the tiniest little movement in the earth, and it's going to start making those marks on the paper. So we are like that. We pick up on the sensitive information around us, including the different kind of stressful situations that people face around us. But the interesting thing is that the trait of being sensitive is actually a neutral thing. It's like a seismograph. It's neutral. It just picks up on things, it records it, it notices it, and that's it. It's just awareness. The problem comes is if we start attaching to one side, like that we need to get them balanced, and we get caught in that, we can end up not just being an observer or someone noticing someone else's stress, we can get caught up in their stress. It's like a lifeguard. If you go out and try to save someone, and if you end up getting caught in the situation, you can end up drowning along with the person you're trying to save. So why are highly sensitive people so especially capable of handling stressed people? First of all, as I mentioned, we're tuned in. So we are aware, and we can not only see their symptoms, but we can often detect the causes of their stress. And seeing the cause goes a long way to beginning to see how that could be remedied. Secondly, we care, and caring is a natural part of being sensitive, and we're just naturally empathetic. So that goes a long way as well. And then we're also capable. We are very conscientious. We study things. We think deeply about things. And we, over time, build an arsenal of abilities that can be super helpful for people around us that are going through things. And then finally, I think maybe most importantly, we are respectful. We don't tend to barge in and take over, but we tend to be respectful of the people who we're supporting around us. And that goes a long way to creating a safe space for people where actual transformation can happen. I know for me, if I am stressed, I want an HSP around me to support me. That's who I would choose out of everyone because of these capabilities. So the thing that I want to focus on here is how to stay centered even when those around you are not. And the key to this for me is a healthy separation between what is theirs and what is mine. Or another way of saying that, what's my business and what's their business. I find just asking myself that when I'm around someone who's stressed or I'm caring for someone who's stressed is super helpful. Like, what is my business? What is my job here? And what is their business? What is their job? Or what is God's business and what is God's job, not just mine? So my business is anything that I can control. And there are a lot of things I can control, but there are a lot of things that I can't control. And if I'm clear on this difference, it can make all the difference in the world on my stress level. So what can I control? If I am with someone like, for example, my mother-in-law has dementia, and I can't control that she doesn't remember things. So if I'm trying to control that, which I can't control, I'm going to be frustrated. I'm going to be stressed. If I'm thinking she should be able to remember that and she can't, then I'm going to be frustrated. I'm going to be arguing with her and with the reality of the situation. But it can go further than that. Maybe she's angry. Maybe she's frustrated. For example, she doesn't like to take a bath and she doesn't like to take her medicine and she doesn't like to be told what to do. And so there's this fine line where sometimes I do have to tell her what to do. Sometimes we do have to give her a bath and we do have to have her take her medicine. And so my business here is to make sure she takes her medicine or make sure she takes her bath, make sure that she is that I'm giving her the care that she deserves on that physical level. Her business is whether she gets angry with that. And so if I'm trying to make her not be angry, I'm so in her business and I'm going to be so frustrated and it's going to be very difficult. People sometimes ask me, because I deal with stressful people in my job. I facilitate people in stressful situations. And they ask me, do you get stressed by that? Now, I'm a highly sensitive person. You would think that I would get stressed by being around stressed people. But my experience is not that at all. Because in my job, I've done a lot of work and I'm very clear where is my business and where is the other person's business. My business is to support them, create a safe space, ask them challenging questions, and be gentle with them. And then their business is what they get from it, whether they have a breakthrough, whether they just keep on being stressed, whether they, like me or don't like me, whether they had a good experience or bad experience. That's not my business. And so when I really see that, I can stand on my side of the street and I can be there, can hold a beautiful space for someone and let them do what they do. And it feels respectful. And it feels clear and it doesn't get to me. So the same thing if you're with others in your life, whether you're in a position of caregiving, whether you're professionally taking care of someone, or whether it's just someone stressed showing up in your life. If you can keep this in mind, what is my business? What is their business? It can save you a lot of grief. Another area where you can do some work, and this is where I love doing the work of Byron Katie, is to question your wants and your needs around somebody. Maybe you're working with a client. Maybe you have someone that you're taking care of in the home, like a dementia patient, like my mother-in-law. Or maybe you're just dealing with a friend and they're venting and they're getting frustrated and they're stuck and all of that. So what are my wants? And what are my needs here? Am I wanting them to think, oh, you really helped me? If I'm attached to that kind of idea, I'm going to be putting a lot of pressure on myself to come up with something to really help them. Or what am I needing? I am needing them to be grateful to me. So if I'm attached to that, I'm going to be, again, putting pressure on myself. I'm going to be trying to rack my brains and try to help. And where am I? I'm in their business. So these wants and needs are like an impetus. They're motives that push me out of my business into the other person's business. And so if you begin to question those wants and see, do you really want that? Is that really true? And what does your life look like when you're wanting that? And who would you be without that? And try turning it around. Like, if you play with this and start questioning your wants and needs, you will have less of this push that draws you over into the other person's business, where obviously you can't control things and your stress is going to mount. So this is a super key. When I'm looking at the work that I do, I've questioned thoughts like, I need her to see what I'm seeing, or I need her to think I'm doing a good job. These kind of wants or needs are very distracting and very, they pull me into the other person's world, the other person's business, and it's not what I can control. So questioning these can give a lot of freedom, because then I, again, find that natural separation between me and my clients, or between me and the other person. The person can actually go on and start ranting, go crazy, be non-compliant, anything. And I'm just there doing my job. I'm free, and I'm just stepping in for a moment to see how I can help, but respectfully leaving control of their life to them and to life, to God. So one question that comes up is, there are blurry lines. This happens with kids, for example, if you're a parent. It happens with older people if you're a caregiver. And it happens when you're working with people where you're in an advice-giving kind of capacity. So where is the line? Sometimes you may actually be having to intervene, or maybe you're actually having to take control for a little while. With a kid, they don't have a fully developed brain, and so you have to actually be that brain for them in some regards. But if you're clear, if you're aware, you'll notice there's still always a line between their business and your business. You just have to get clear on where that line is, and it may be different in different situations. So the key is to notice when you start feeling stressed. When you start having that reaction, then there's a good chance that you're getting into an area where maybe you're actually out of control. Maybe you don't have control and you're trying to be in control where you can't be in control, and you have to back up a little bit. So stress will be your wake-up call, and if you listen to it and then notice what you're thinking and believing and question it, you will find that you can distinguish, even in blurry situations, where your job is and where the other person's job begins. So healthy separation. I think that's really the key here to staying calm, staying peaceful when other people are stressed. If it's personal, if you have an personal investment in it, if you think it's your job to fix them, then every time they scream, you're going to be vibrating with stress because you think that you're failing at your job. But if you're clear about what their job is, which is their business, their world, their emotions, not something you control, then you can give all the care in the world and you can give it freely, and it can actually be very effective. But if they don't manage to do it well, then it's okay. It's not on you. And that is super helpful. And then one final word: when you're dealing with stressful people in any regard, naturally, as HSPs, we have a limit, and we reach our limit earlier than other people. And so we have to pace ourselves, and we have to allow for recovery time for ourselves, so that we can reduce the overwhelm and come back to balance in ourselves. And that will help us, again, get clearer on this distinction between what is theirs and what is ours. So both things are important: doing your inner work and also taking care of yourself so that you have the rest and balance needed to actually be a caregiver, instead of just being an exhausted, say, lifeguard running out to save someone in the surf, and because you're so exhausted, you go down with the other person.